Well, it's the morning of day 4 and as you can probably tell, we've got snow. On the way over to the park here, I stopped over on the hard shoulder that I was at a couple of days ago and took a picture of the same composition that I did when I was there last time, but with the snow. Also bumping up the ISO to try and freeze a bit of the motion of the snow because there was quite a bit of a blizzard happening there. So now I'm back over here at the park and I found a composition here by the riverside just framing up this little cluster of trees perched on that outcropping over the river, nicely dusted with snow. Using the wide angle lens, it's set to about 50mm, so not the widest setting, but just nicely cropping in on that little cluster of trees there that you see behind me. Now I'm heading up to the area where the fallen Scots Pine with the sapling growing out of it. I keep calling it sapling, it's not a sapling. The little baby, yeah, it's a little baby pine tree, that's what it is. It's not a sapling. It's much bigger than a sapling. But yeah, I'm going over there to photograph that now. It's a few hundred yards up the river from where I am now. But yeah, I didn't expect to see quite so much snow this morning, but when I checked the weather app at the hotel, the forecast did say there was going to be quite a bit, so this is nice, quite a nice end to the trip before I drive down to England later. So I'm going to pack up from this composition here and wander up to the fallen Scots Pine and see how that looks with snow on it. But yeah, the plans do have to stay flexible. I don't know whether I'll be going over to the other side of the river now, because it might actually be more advantageous to head up into the valley a little bit and see what the snow does for that. But anyway, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the day, see what the snow does for the scene, and continue on up the river. Well, I've arrived at the scene of the fallen pine with the pine tree growing out of the roots, and I've looked at it from several angles and there doesn't really seem to be a way to separate the tree from the background in any way that really isolates it, which is a shame because it's quite an interesting subject, but it might just be the case that it might not be ideal for photography. It might just not really have a good composition available. The issue I've got is the green, it kind of doesn't pop enough from the green of the trees behind it. I did sort of manage to isolate it a little bit from the scene, sort of matching it up with the scene of the snow on the far side of the river, but then the river kind of cut across through behind it in a way that sort of was very distracting, and it didn't really work for the shot. So I think what I'm going to do though is have a little bit more of a look around this area and see about a look at the scene of the river anyway, because the river behind that subject, even on its own, is looking pretty nice. So I might have to frame up a composition with the long lens and just go in tight on that S-curve with the mysterious snowy trees in the background. That might work quite well for a shot. But I haven't fully given up hope on the scene of the fir tree there growing out of the fallen Scots Pine, but yeah, it's really interesting, but possibly just not great for photography. So I'm going to continue to look around, have a look at framing up the scene of the river back there, so it does look really nice, and see what I can come up with. So I went ahead and took an image of the fallen tree anyway. I figured I might as well, in spite of what I was saying. I've gone on enough about it on this trip to warrant just giving it a try. It's still framed up against the green of the tall trees in the background there, but the background trees are dark enough that perhaps with a little bit of massaging in Photoshop it could turn out okay. I've gone in with a portrait composition, just framing up the tall trees in the background with the small tree, the long tree and the small tree just at the bottom of the frame there, with a little bit of snow at the bottom. So from the composition, hopefully the subject will be clear enough, and with enough editing maybe the image will work. So figured I might as well give it a go. So I'm not holding out huge hope for it, but yeah, it might turn out okay. Now I'm gonna head on down to the river there and see about photographing the S-curve leading up to the snow-capped mountains in the frosty distance. Frosty distance, yeah. I don't know. The cold weather's making me say and do strange things. So, moving on. So what I've ended up with here is another quite cropped in photo with the long lens, looking straight down the S-curve, as you see to the side of my head there, leading up in towards the hills. There was a bit of mist rising out of the trees on the tops of the hills there as the snow starts to melt, which the snow is starting to melt. It's now clearing up quite a bit. You can see it's dripping off the branches. So I think the kind of prime time shooting for snowy landscapes is kind of done for the day. But a couple of images that I've captured here in the snow, so I'm quite pleased with that. I really wasn't expecting to come away with any snow from this trip. I was kind of hoping for it on the way here, but I wasn't 100% whether that was going to be the case. So I'm quite pleased with the images that I've got for today. I'm going to continue to have a wander around, but I quite happily walk away from this trip with the images that I've taken and be quite satisfied with the way everything's turned out. So I'm going to pack up from this particular shot, wander around a little bit more, explore. If I see anything that I think is going to make a good image, I'm going to probably try and grab that, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm probably just going to enjoy the rest of the afternoon, because I've got a long drive back to England ahead of me. So I think I'll just use the rest of the time today to just wander around and have a nice hike, explore, enjoy the surroundings without the pressure of trying to scout around for images, because it is a lot of pressure when you haven't taken that many to start with. And having taken the first image on the first day, you know, it kind of relieves a bit of the pressure. But yeah, I think I'm just going to enjoy myself this afternoon, have a nice hike. It's a long drive back to England, about a 6-hour drive, so I've got that to look forward to after dark. But yeah, I'm going to wander around, explore the area a little bit more, watch as the snow dissipates, and just enjoy it. It's been a good trip.